All right, today we're digging into a huge story. It's about a broken promise. Imagine a treasure chest worth $3.4 trillion. The key has been turned, but for some reason, the lid is still jammed shut. We're going to find out why. So back in 2021, the African Continental Free Trade Area, the AfCFTA, came to life. It was supposed to be this incredible bridge connecting 1.3 billion people to a unified, prosperous future. But this image, it says it all, doesn't it? That bridge is collapsing. And why? It all comes down to a simple, brutal truth. You just cannot trade what you cannot move. So let's just take a second to grasp the sheer scale of what's at stake here. The promise was absolutely monumental, but the reality? Well, it's a multi-trillion-dollar traffic jam. $3.4 trillion. That's not just a number. That is the massive size of the market the AfCFTA created. We're talking about one of the largest free trade areas on the entire planet by population. A literal treasure chest of economic potential just sitting there, waiting. And this slide just perfectly illustrates the core problem. On one hand, you have a paper revolution. I mean, with 47 nations on board, it's a masterpiece of diplomacy. A shop owner in Kigali can, in theory, sell to a customer in Lagos in seconds. But then it collides with physical reality. The actual goods enter what can only be described as a logistical graveyard. We have a 21st century agreement smashing head-on into 19th century infrastructure. So how in the world did we get here? Well, to really understand the problem, you gotta look back in time. It turns out there's a ghost from the colonial era haunting the gears of African trade, and it's literally built into the ground. You know, the biggest, most literal barrier to unity comes down to just a few millimeters. The continent is this bizarre jigsaw puzzle of different railway tracks that don't match up, a legacy of different colonial powers building lines just for themselves. You've got Cape gauge, meter gauge, and now patches of modern standard gauge. And the thing is, they just don't connect. And the result of all this is what experts are now calling logistical islands. Think about it. When a train full of goods gets to a border and the tracks literally change size, the trade deal dies right there. Everything has to be unloaded, moved, and reloaded onto a different train. It's wildly inefficient, drives up costs, and leaves you with half-finished projects and, well, tracks to nowhere. Now, this isn't just some minor headache. This has a real staggering cost. It basically acts like a hidden tax on every single thing produced on the continent. 40%. Just let that sink in for a moment. That's the estimated surcharge that this bad infrastructure adds to the price of African-made goods. Let's just call it what it is, a friction tax. It makes products uncompetitive before they even have a chance. And if you need one example to understand just how absurd this is, listen to this. It's actually cheaper to ship goods over 10,000 kilometers across an ocean than it is to move them 1,000 kilometers inland on the same continent. That single fact just shows you how completely broken the system is. So, what this friction tax really does is put a giant padlock on the entire internal market. It forces African countries to trade with partners halfway across the world instead of with their own neighbors, which completely undermines the entire point of the free trade area in the first place. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, okay, that's a regional problem. But you'd be wrong. This has become a critical choke point for the entire world. And believe it or not, it affects products you use every single day. You see, our modern economy is built on one simple idea: just-in-time delivery. Parts arrive exactly when they're needed. But in Africa, the reality is more like maybe in time. Global companies are looking for new places to build things, but they're bypassing the continent, not because of the people, but because you can't run a factory when you don't know if the trucks or the power will show up. And here is exactly how it affects you. The global push for green energy for electric cars depends on minerals like cobalt and lithium. A huge amount of that comes from Africa. So when those essential minerals are trapped in a truck at a border crossing for days, or can't get past a collapsed bridge, the production of your next EV or smartphone literally slows down. It's a bottleneck that fuels scarcity for all of us. Okay, so that brings us right to this very moment. We are at a critical crossroads, a real pivot point where really tough decisions are being made that are going to shape the economic future of the continent. And this hourglass says it all. Time is seriously running out. The wealth is there. It's immense, but it's completely immobile. Every single day that passes, that potential just evaporates into thin air. The pressure to find some kind of solution is enormous. So what's the new strategy? Well, it's something called emergency infrastructure corridors. Think of them like private VIP lanes, high-speed roads and rail lines built for one purpose: to connect a specific mine directly to a specific port. They cut through all the red tape to get resources out to the global market. It's a fast fix for the export problem for sure, but it risks leaving the entire internal market behind in the dust. Which leaves us with this final, massive question. The choice is pretty stark now. Does the continent commit to the incredibly hard, expensive work of fixing its physical infrastructure to match its ambitions on paper? Or do we all just watch the world's largest free trade deal, this $3.4 trillion promise, dissolve right back into the mud? The wealth is there. It's time to move it.